NewsConference Extra with Conan Nolan.
Good morning and welcome to News Conference Extra, a special segment of Today in LA Weekend. Well, the Democratic National Convention starts tomorrow. A Californian is now on the Democratic ticket for president, and if that ticket wins in November, someone will be needed to replace Kamala Harris in the United States Senate. A lot to talk about. With us is Kerman Maddox, who has a long history of being involved in politics. He worked for Tom Bradley, Antonio Villaraigosa, Democratic consultant. He's also with Dakota Communications in Los Angeles. And Christina Bellantoni, who is formerly with the Los Angeles Times as editor of politics and now with the Annenberg School for Communication at USC. So it's common practice for a campaign to denigrate the vice presidential selection of the rival candidate. But in this case, it appears the Trump campaign was caught flat-footed. At one point, they called Kamala Harris too far to the left, too much of a progressive. And then later on, they said that progressives were upset with her because she was a former prosecutor and was not involved in criminal justice reform early enough. And now they're going after her based on this op-ed piece in Newsweek that perhaps she's not eligible to be vice president because her parents were immigrants. Kerman, what do you think?
Yeah, it's clear they don't have a real defined strategy other than they're trying to attack her with this bogus birther claim. And let me just call it out for what it is. It's a racist attack by a racist president designed to gin up his base of neo-Nazis and white supremacists. What they're trying to do, Conan, is get everybody to focus on the bottom of the ticket, the African-American woman, and ignore the friendly white guy at the top of the ticket. The birther strategy, they tried it with former President Barack Obama. They're going to try it here. They're going to do everything they can to demonize Kamala Harris, to give his supporters this notion that somehow she's unusual, she's not like us. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm not surprised at the strategy at all. And it's just frankly disgusting, Conan.
It's an othering attempt to talk about her background, which is something that actually is like really cool about America and all the different people from all the different places. And it doesn't seem to me they did their homework on where she grew up, what her family upbringing is, like all of the things that she's done in her community for a very, very long time. You know, that's the sort of thing that they're just trying to throw something against the wall and see which attack lands.
So if the Biden-Harris ticket wins in November, there'll be a vacancy in the U.S. Senate. It'll be up to Governor Gavin Newsom to appoint someone to fill out the remainder of Kamala Harris's term in office. Kerman, no shortage of folks who would like that job.
So I think Gavin Newsom is going to be under pressure from two principal groups, constituencies, Conan. One is going to be the Latino community because they've never had a Latino state senator. They've got some very strong candidates. Alex Padilla is going to be someone at the top of the list. Javier Becerra, the attorney general, is going to be there. But I also think women's groups are going to really come together. And I think African-American women are going to say, wait a minute, we had an African-American woman in the U.S. Senate in Kamala Harris, frankly, the only one. And so I think they're going to really put some pressure on him to replace the African-American woman in the Senate, Kamala Harris, with another African-American woman. And I think there's some strong candidates.
Newsom is going to be supremely lobbied on this should the Biden-Harris ticket be victorious. And it's also something that, you know, we can all recognize that a California senator does in fact carry more weight. That's not how the Constitution was designed. Everybody's supposed to be equal, but we represent more people here. The most populous state in the country, 1 in 10 Americans is Californian. And certainly we are a leader on policy issues. And, you know, should that ticket be victorious, and then this person is going into potentially a Democratic Senate, should some of the control flip in Congress and a Democratic House, you know, that's an opportunity to really advance serious change. So I think Newsom would consider the person both from what they look like and what they represent, in addition to what they would do and how they would govern. But it will not be an easy decision because there are a lot of ambitious politicians. You know, certainly that we have 2 female politicians. He probably will be under some pressure to not change that balance. But you have so many people in the state, many of whom have wanted this for a long time, and many of those are men.
Do you suspect Eric Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, would take a job in the Biden administration if, of course, Joe Biden wins in the fall?
Could be. I mean, you know, he's big on the environment. And, you know, one of the things that would be of interest to a guy like Eric Garcetti, who's incredibly talented, is Secretary of Energy is a good post. EPA administrator is a good post. I mean, because the next administration is going to focus a lot on climate change and environmental issues. And that seems to be the sweet spot for Mayor Garcetti. So I think those two are real possibilities for Mayor Eric Garcetti.
My sources in the Biden campaign, have been talking about Garcetti for many years about how close their friendship is. Biden considers him a very close confidant, somebody that he trusts, was kind of waiting to see if Garcetti would decide to run for president himself, got his endorsement early, really has embraced him in many ways. And I would suspect that he will have a strong role in the administration.
So there's going to be a virtual Democratic National Convention starting on Monday night. Kerman, you're a superdelegate to the convention. What are you expecting?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to keep people engaged and connected, because you have a convention with no people, and candidates and speeches often you draw on the energy of the crowd. So how they're going to be able to deliver that in a way that's compelling on TV is, well, I'm really curious to see how they do that. And then the other thing is, I'm anxious to see the lineup of speakers, and I'm dying to see the role that former President Barack Obama plays. And how do they pull the whole thing together in a way that's compelling, absent the crowds that are typically there that generate so much energy and so much enthusiasm for the speakers?
You have to remember, these events, even though there's so much on the ground energy, they are made for TV events too, right? The majority of the world watches it from their couch. So I would expect a lot of viewership, and some minds will be changed, and the same will be so for the Republican National Convention. Incumbents tend to win. People want to rally with the president, particularly in the time of crisis. And I think Trump will probably experience a larger bump coming out of that convention. And again, this race is going to be close to the very end.
Christina Bellantoni of the Annenberg USC School for Communication, formerly of the LA Times. Kerman Maddox, a superdelegate of the Democratic National Convention, also with Dakota Communications in Los Angeles. Thank you to both of you, and we'll have you back soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Conan.
So the confluence now with the U.S. Postal Service and mail-in balloting and the November election. What does this mean going forward to the presidential vote? We talk with Chuck Todd, host of Meet the Press, next.